Okay, so here we are, the first of the Monday Mindsets, hopefully the first of several. Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to do this, to sort of try it out, see if it works, see if it's a helpful format. Good day so far?
Really good day, yeah. It's lovely to be with the Dean Close family. Always look for excuses to get involved. Unfortunately, this one doesn't involve fish and chip lunch. Usually try and schedule meetings on a Friday lunchtime or a Wednesday for roast dinner. But never mind, we're here and raring to go.
Yeah, should be good. And how are the rabbits this morning? I didn't sort of check in with you. Doing all right?
They're all right, yeah. They're bombing around the garden to keep warm, but they've had lots of hay and nibbles and things. Yeah. Did you empty the dishwasher?
Dishwasher emptied. Yeah,
Brilliant.
I managed to do that in between lesson 2 and 3, I think.
Fantastic.
And I also had a piece of Christmas cake. In February. Our neighbour Wendy went around yesterday with some lunch for her, and she in return gave me some Christmas cake.
Bonus. So, it's good as well, isn't it?
Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Done all right.
Right. Should we make a start?
Yeah.
Great.
So what have you got for us today then? So we're talking in general, aren't we, about having a good mindset and a healthy mindset. Everyone's probably a little bit run down. What have you got for us today and why?
Great. Well, I thought I'd start with why Monday Mindset. So I'd just give you a little bit of a flavour for why we're doing it. And I think what do I know? I know that teaching is a fantastic job, but it is hard graft. It is sacrificial. You're serving other people all the time. Mm-hmm. And so, if we're not careful, we can spend all of our energy looking after other people and not really look after ourselves very well. So, working in education, amazing thing to be doing. But my heart really for Monday Mindset is to invest in people in education, invest in my colleagues, invest in you guys who are giving out lots in this season.
And particularly at this time as well, as we head into February half term. I mean, I taught for 10 years at Dean Close. I know lots of you guys from back then. And I remember how tired you'd feel by this point, on your knees, really. So often you weren't really recharged over Christmas. Weather's been terrible, getting up in the dark, getting in when it's dark. So it's a particularly important time, isn't it, to talk about recharging, and also with the pandemic as well as a background. How does that sort of exacerbate things then?
Well, I mean, I think for us, normally we'd be looking forward to half term. We'd have a couple of nice treatish things booked in. I think last year we weren't that far away from going to Centre Parks this time sort of last year, mm-hmm. or we'd go and visit family. That's just obviously not an option this year. So having to be really intentional about what a relaxing and restful half term might look like.
So if you're anything like us, you probably experience people in your family being on their knees. We keep having conversations with people who've got headaches because they've been looking at screens, and a bit of stress around, getting a bit fed up of the people that you see every day who you live with. So we're going into February half term without that much to look forward to in terms of getting away for a couple of nights at a hotel. So we really have to try to find relaxation and recharge in some other ingenuous places. So James, you've got a tool for us today. You're going to teach us, and we're then going to really try and ground it so that we've all got some things we can take with us into half term so we can get recharged.
Yeah, definitely. I think the mindset for today is really, if I can find it here, is going to be this one. Okay, so you can't give away what you don't have. So if we're not operating from a place of rest, if we're not operating from a place where we've got some sort of feeling rested and recharged, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, so you can't give away what you don't have. Now here's the tool that I want to share today. It's called the 70-30 tool, and it's one that I learned several years ago, and it's one that I keep coming back to. I was actually looking at it last week and applying it to myself, because last week I was struggling a little bit with motivation. So let me get into it. 70-30 principle. Now, all of you on the call today, you might not know this, but you have superpowers. You have mild superpowers, and what I mean by that is certain things that are natural strengths, things that you do instinctively. They are things that you don't have to work at, but they are mild superpowers, and you have them. Now, what do I mean by that? Things that come naturally to you. So it's like using, and if you look at the diagram there, it's like you're using your right hand, or the hand that you naturally would write with. Okay, you don't really have to think about. If I asked you to sign your name, and you could do that if you wanted to, if you've got pen to hand, you can sign your name. You don't have to think about it. It's something that comes easily to you, because it's an unconscious competence, right? It's something you don't have to think about. And actually, more than that, there's certain activities, there's certain things that you do. Maybe if you're a very relational person, you are good at looking after other people. You find that energizing, actually. You can do quite a lot of looking after other people because you find it to be energizing. Or some of you are really good at planning stuff and delivering things. Again, you don't have to work too hard at that. It's something that comes naturally to you. But on the other hand, we've got things that is more learned behavior. So if I ask you to write your name with your opposite hand, the hand that you don't normally write with, you can do it, but you have to work pretty hard at it. It's tiring. You can get better at it. If you ended up practicing with your left hand, you get better at it, but it's not something that is never going to come naturally to you. Okay, so that would be what we call a conscious competence. You've had to work at it, you can do it, but it's not natural to you. And therefore, if you spend too much time using your left hand, you would find that draining. So what we're looking for is the balance between spending 70% of our time doing things which we find energizing, so that gives us what we need to do the 30% of any job, any sort of lifestyle that we need. We're going to have some things in our life that we don't find energizing.
And what about in this present context, with all the changes you've had to your role at school? Yeah. How has that impacted your 70-30?
Brilliant. Yeah. So for me, I love, for instance, being outside, coaching sport. Last year had a really fantastic season with my rugby team. Loved it. Just great camaraderie. I just love being on the training pitch. It's a big part of why I teach. Okay, and I've completely lost that. Well, I say I completely lost that. Certainly in remote teaching, I haven't got that. And even last term, I wasn't coaching a team that was playing on a Saturday, so I was missing that, the match environment. All of that thing that I generally find quite energizing. So that's just one small example of how my 70-30 has changed.
So you put that coaching rugby into your 70.
Yeah.
What else would you put in your 70 with your role at school?
Yeah, great. So just that more spontaneous pastoral conversation, the chat at the end of a lesson, sometimes with a student, or the beginning, or those moments in class where you just have got the whole class working together and everyone's motivated and they're fired up, and you can feel like you're taking taking real ground. Mm-hmm. And that's harder to do, in a remote setting. That's hard.
Mm-hmm. So 70% sounds to me as though it's those social interactions, isn't it? It's the coaching, it's sort of encouraging people, seeing people take ground. What about your 30% then? What would you put in what the more draining aspects for you of teaching? And this isn't going to be the same for everybody.
Yeah.
But what is it for you, James?
So I'm not a natural planner. It's something that I have to work at. And so I'm finding, and the problem last week really was that I found that I was just spending a bit too much time. I'd spent too long on marking and planning and some of those things that clearly I have to do as a teacher, but I'm probably never going to find them energizing. So I need to be good at them, but if I spend too long on them, I find that my 70-30 would be out.
Okay, so you've got your planning and your admin in your 30% side of things, and then you've got your coaching and your spontaneous stuff in your 70. Obviously, with the COVID situation, that seems to have gone completely out. Yeah. So where would you say you were, sort of 50-50?
I think last week, in the 50s, probably somewhere, maybe, 55-45, something like that.
So if what we're saying is that you need to do the things that energize you and strengthen you for 70% of the time to give you the energy you need for the 30, you will have had to have worked then on drawing up your energizing things in this season. So what have you included then that has given you more energy? How have you sort of shifted?
Okay, great. So a simple thing I did last week was, I know that being outside and exercising is something that is a really good thing for me. And I took that and I just added an extra element to it. So I arranged to catch up with my brother on Saturday morning for a run at 10 o'clock. And we ran for an hour, and it was just so enjoyable. We ran probably further than I would have done if I was on my own. Had a really good catch up. I got to invest in him. He listened to me, and yeah, it was great, and that felt super energizing.
So what was energizing about that? What were the
So
aspects?
I'm an extrovert. I'm an external processor. So, just connection. Hearing about he's had a new book. His first baby this year. So Bertie was born last May. So hearing about him and his progress, and then realizing that they weren't in a support bubble at the moment. So actually, I'm going to be able to take Bertie out this week. So it's kind of, we were making plans, and I just was looking after my little brother. So that was a nice thing to be able to do.
So that energized you and
Yeah.
filled your love tank.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So what we're thinking about here is we're thinking about trying to increase that list in the 70% side of things, where you find more things really that energize you. So let's talk about exercise.
Yeah.
So something we can do is the daily exercise. Here's a picture of us in, where was this, last October?
October half term, we went to a very sort of stormy and wet Croyd in Devon. Yeah,
it was Croyd Bay. We went for a brilliant walk in Croyd Bay. Now, the reason that walking or running energizes us is nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's got nature. It's got exercise, so all of those endorphins going around the body. So that's two things that's probably will energize everyone. But what we need to be clear on is what kind of walk, what kind of exercise energizes us. So for you, you're saying it's with someone. Is that right?
Yes,
Talking,
yeah.
interacting and coaching.
Yeah.
But for me, that's very different, actually, because I am surrounded by the family over half term. I really want to go for a walk on my own or a run on my own. Is that all right? And it is, because we've talked about this. So if I go running on my own, sometimes bump into Rona on the way around, she's on her own as well. I'm an internal processor. So that's really my thinking time. That's my ideas time. That's when I think about the next thing we're going to plan with the business or with the family. And it's the same with walking. So I can go off on a Saturday afternoon for an hour and a half, a couple of hours, spot birds, because obviously, that's my secret obsession at the moment. Maybe bump into people, have a bit of a chat, but most of the time I'm able to do my internal processing, and I come back and I'm able to be present again with the family. So thinking really strategically about what kind of exercise, is it a walk, is it a run, what is it, bike ride, and with people or not with people, for you, makes a difference, because I think sometimes we can try and do that the way that others do, and it doesn't necessarily help us.
Yeah.
James, talk us through some other ways of exercising.
Just scroll.
Can we present? Because I need to click.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Great. Okay, so different ways of energizing.
Well, so my favourite thing is touch rugby as sport, and obviously that is something that I've not been able to do during lockdown. What else have we got on here? Clearly, reading a good book, and choosing a book that clearly is perhaps uplifting. Be careful what you read in this season. We can probably do. I think you had a book recently that was really tough.
Shuggy Bain, yeah. Just read that. That is hard work. Yeah, but I've got Chrissy Ryan now, OD, who's sending me uplifting, interesting books once a month at the moment. So I recommend Book Bar with Chrissy Ryan.
Yeah.
Find a place on your own and have a read and a coffee. Now, I love this one. This one is brilliant for two reasons. Firstly, it can be really energizing, can't it, to just disappear off and have a nice hot bath by yourself. But look at this. It's called a bath board. Now, it looks amazing because you can have your glass of wine. There's even a slot there for a glass with a stem in it. Read your book, have your candles and everything. Make it a really spa, relaxing experience. Don't let anyone else in. But also, I was thinking about Dom Evans, and I was thinking about how he created that little club where you make something.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, actually, I'd like to throw out this challenge to Dom to make for Karen, or even for himself, a bath board.
I love it.
Because sometimes just going off and doing a little project, working away on something.
Yeah.
Making something. I like to do puzzles. I like to build a puzzle, and the boys come and join in, and I've a bit of social time with them while we're doing something. So what is it that energizes you? Is it enjoying the bath board, or is it making the bath board?
That's really good. So having a list of activities that you find restful and recharging is really good, and working at that and saying, I tried that, it didn't really work out, and knowing what you might want to substitute instead, or taking something and saying it's good, could I make it even better? What about prioritizing it as well? Do you want to say anything about that? What about making rest and recharge a priority? What are some of the challenges there for different personalities?
Well, I think it's really hard. I think some people's personalities tend to automatically put others first,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah.
And so they won't think of prioritising themselves. I think we've got a lot amongst our teaching colleagues. We've got a lot of selfless people who have spent their lives investing in others achieving their goals. And so it's going to feel very hard to say, I'm just going to disappear off now and read my book for an hour. You're going to feel like that's indulgent.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Teaching probably attracts people who are willing to look after other people. You're right, but what we also want to avoid is people getting burnt out. If you're not looking after yourself, it's going to be difficult for you to really bring your best in the classroom, remote classroom, and look after other people. And I think part of Monday Mindset, part of why we do what we do with the coaching stuff is I really want to see healthy teachers for the long term, for teaching to be a sustainable thing. And so, I don't want half term to be the first few days, people just collapsing over the line, being in bed for the first couple of days, being unwell, which, we've all been there, we've all done that. But, this week is really about ensuring that, you're almost getting ready for half term. You are choosing some early nights, you're choosing to get through your workload this week if you possibly can, so you're not leaving loads of work for over half term. Maybe being careful about how what kind of independent work, what sort of prep you're setting, so that come half term, you are you're going to be tired, and yes, you want to catch up on some rest, but you also anticipated it, and you're not collapsing over the line on Friday afternoon.
Totally. I mean, I remember loads of times falling off a cliff on the Friday of half term, absolutely, ordering in Domino's in the Sheldon flat, and then literally waking up lying on the floor, with the dribble coming out of my mouth and been asleep for 13 hours. And I used to do that. And actually, when you've got kids, you just can't afford to do that anymore. So pacing ourselves this week is really important. And I just encourage us to put into our schedule this week half an hour every day of something that recharges us. At least, try and put 2 sessions in if you can, or even more. And sometimes we think Netflix, we think binge watching TV is going to recharge us, but actually the research is that maybe 1 episode recharges us, where we sit, we rest, we have a bit of escapism, we think about something. But after that diminishes, actually. And often we can just end up going to bed 4 hours later than we were going to, feeling the same way.
Yeah, I think that's it. So engaging with how you're actually feeling. So giving yourself permission to, work through how you're actually feeling, because otherwise you could watch a whole bunch of TV and actually that thing that you were stressed about hasn't really been dealt with. I remember a colleague, last term saying they'd had something happen just before half term, something that, that there'd been a bit of feedback, a bit of critique over something they'd done. It was, a small mistake, but they spent the first few days of the holiday, giving themselves a really hard time about that. And, that's really tough to hear, because, holidays are precious, and we need to make the most of them. I think the only thing I'd want to add as well is I'm aware that lots of you are looking after people. You're in the boarding context, and some of you will be working through half term as well. So, I recognise that I don't want to, I wouldn't want you to turn around and say, "Oh, I haven't got quite the opportunities you have for resting it up." But what I would say is actually investing a small amount, like Laura said, is still really worth doing. And I'm so grateful for all the ways in which many of you are having to dig deep in this season. So thank you.
So a little of the right thing goes a really long way.
Great.
Okay, so trying not to do lots of something that drains us, but thinking of what we do love doing, and doing that. Competitive board games.
Not for me. That is not my.
James doesn't really like it. Gilbert doesn't really like it, but Laurie loves it. So Laurie and I play competitive board games. Both get recharged, and we're hanging out and having some good one-on-one time together. So thinking about what we could do with someone else as well. Okay, so let's just pop back to the 70-30 slide then, as we start to bring things down now before we have some Q&A. So if you've got a question, please get ready to put it in the chat now, and we'd love to be chatting that through in a minute. Okay, so scheduling. So what would be some good tips, James, on scheduling time over half term for recharging?
Well, I think, if you run a calendar, if you run a Google Calendar, for instance, just put it in there. If you need to speak to somebody about it, if you need to have a conversation as a family, or with a spouse or whatever, say, look, this is what I'm planning to do at this time, and and releasing each other to be able to have that time, really. So I think when Laura needs a chunk of time to herself, her feeling that she knows that I'm going to be responsible for the boys in that space. So get it in your schedule. It's more likely to happen if you've got it in your schedule, even this week as well. Doing some things this week that would help you get ready for half term.
Brilliant. And try and give it a colour in your schedule. All of my recharge time is sunny yellow, and I try and put something in every single day. So just to summarise, we're aiming for 70% of our time being spent on things that energise us, and 30% being spent on the things that drain us. So perhaps have a little think after this of where you're at. Okay, are you 30-70? Are you 50-50? If you're anything below 70-30 for a sustained period of time, it's going to start showing up in stress.
Yeah.
So today it's all about saying, how can we drive up that 70%? How can we put more things in? You've talked about making a few tweaks. You've had 2 runs with friends this week where you've chatted. Has it made any difference?
Yeah, it definitely has. So I think it's not wholesale change. Often it's small change, and recognising that there are some limitations in this season, but there probably are some things that you could do that would make a difference to your outlook.
So what can you trade up this week? Okay, so you might say, okay, I'm going to trade out another episode of Netflix. Although we do love a good film, don't we?
Yeah.
We're definitely not
Yeah,
saying
we watched some good.
I'm going to trade that out, and I'm going to go for a walk, because I'm going to be energized on a number of fronts from doing that. Okay.
Right. So we'd love to hear a couple of questions. So I'm aware we've been totally presenting. So if there are any questions, now would be a really good time if you want to just pose a question on anything you've heard. Or it would be good to hear what your score is, if you felt like you could share what your Peace Index score would be. In fact, that might be a question I'd ask you. How would you say your Peace Index is at the moment? Not your Peace Index, sorry, you have 70-30, sorry.
Well, 70-30 is pretty good, I would say, because the children have been at school. We've had the key worker place, which I'm just so grateful for. So it's pretty good getting work, the sort of work-life balance of things. I'm probably at about 65-35.
Mm-hmm.
However, I always, in half term, I dip. I know that in the holidays, it definitely goes lower. It can go to about 50-50. Because I'm a mild extrovert and I live in a noisy, happy house. So it's about making sure I get some time to do my own, to go away and work, really, and also to go and get some Gear 1 recharge as well. They're the 2 gears, Gear 1 and Gear 5, that I just need to make sure I do more of. That's another tool. We'll talk about that another time.
Okay. And what are some things next week that you think as a family might be a good move for us in terms of things that we might all find energizing, or something sort of treatish for next week?
Yeah, I think definitely some treats at the weekend. So maybe some pizza, a good movie. So we're in the process of putting together a good list of movies that are feel-good movies for the whole family. Have you got any tips, by the way? Any couple we've watched lately?
Well, I'm looking, who's on at the moment. That great movie, one of my top 5 actually, McFarland. I watched on Disney Channel. Classic formula. High school coach coming into a school, working with underprivileged, people from a poor socioeconomic backgrounds that were, and finding something that they're really good at. So Kevin Costner, we really enjoyed that, didn't we?
He's great.
Oh, Becky's saying McFarlane. She likes McFarlane.
It's such a good film. And actually make sure you've got some Mexican food to eat while you're watching it, because otherwise you will have major FOMO, because there's some great food in that film, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then we watched another Kevin Costner on Saturday, didn't we?
So we've kind of, I think, knowing actually a movie, knowing your movie genre, if you're watching with someone else, what movie genre can you both agree upon? And Laura and mine would probably be sports movies.
Movies.
So we watched Draft Day, didn't we? Again with Kevin Costner, which we enjoyed, and that was good. Helped cheer me up after the rugby. No comment.
So let's move on from that. So a good movie, I think, is a treat, isn't it? I think also just having times when we're all together as a family, and times when we're perhaps doing something 2 and 2.
Yeah.
So over lockdown, Gilbert and I got into skating. Like Aaron, his wife Ronnie, gave me a pair of rollerblades that their son had grown out of. And we just took to going for a walk. I got to walk fast, which I like doing. He got to skate. and he got to chat away and have mummy to himself. So that was our little bonding activity, and we both got energized from it because it was outside and it was a happy sort of connecting activity. So I think try and think about doing stuff together, doing stuff just one-on-one, and doing something on your own as well. So what could that be? Maybe set yourself a challenge. I'm trying to learn a piano piece with competence all the way through. I'm not a great pianist. I did a grade 5 when I was GCSE type thing. I'm okay, but I do it because I enjoy it. It's relaxing, and the boys really like to hear me play when they're playing Lego, and to have me in the background really clonking away.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm doing something a bit different as well. I'm choosing silence 3 times a day. So 5 minutes of silence, which for me as a full-on extrovert is quite hard. But the one I find at lunchtime is I was setting my alarm for 5 minutes, and what was happening in minute 4.5 probably, I was falling asleep, and then my alarm was going off. So now I've set it for a little bit longer, and it's turning in, if I'm honest, into a little bit of a nap. But that little bit of downtime, that little switch off moment at lunchtime means that actually I've got more energy in the afternoon if I've got any work to catch up, or if if I'm running an activity, or when the boys get home, I'm more present with them as well. So I
think that's a good tip for this week as well. Just talking about eye strain and headaches earlier, which lots of people we're hearing are experiencing. The eyes have got muscles in, and we're not used to using those muscles, so it's giving those muscles a break as well. So I scheduled in today 90 minutes off the computer. I knew I was going to be on for a big chunk this morning, and then on again now, and I'm through until 4 o'clock. So I thought, okay, I'm going to schedule in some off screen time just to give my eyes a chance to relax. So that's another good thing, even if it's just 15 minutes of switching off.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the Monday mindset thought was, we wanted people to be able to turn their cameras off so they're not having to look at themselves. That potentially if you're catching up on this, because I know there's quite a few people that said they couldn't make now, but they were going to listen to the recording, you could have it on while you were doing something else. So, if that's a formula that works, we would love to pick that up again after half term. So we're sort of coming in. We haven't got too long left. If there's any questions, we still want to hear them. Getting a really good tip from Becky on The Guardian, Kevin Costner.
Is that the one with...
it's not a movie I've come across.
Not The Bodyguard.
No.
Gosh, he's got a film called The Guardian and a film called The Bodyguard. Or was it the same one?
Typecast, I think. Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
He's such a good actor, though, isn't he? He's really. We watched Prince of Thieves the other day with the kids. First time the boys had watched Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Classic.
Yeah, that was good. And the other thing is we'd love to hear from you as well. So we've got ideas about where we would go in the next, Monday Mindset. But also if there's people that you think we might want to interview and how we could improve on it as well.
And maybe if Dom Evans makes a bath board, we could get that up here as well and showcase that.
Definitely. I mean, I know there was a great reaction when Dom offered to have people in the DT room and do some projects, and it was like people took him up on it straight away. So I'm sure the bath board thing could actually, that could go viral.
I think I'd quite like one.
Oh dear. You see my woodworking skills. Yeah.
My next birthday.
I think you got more chance of Gilbert doing it down in the prep school.
He's into DT, isn't he? He's really into it.
And the other thing, no, I'm not going to go there. That's not going to be a good thing to do. I was thinking about, in the night, I was thinking about what we might call Monday Mindset, but I think I'll leave that for another time. If people are interested to ask me, they can. So,
Kitchen Disco, I think Kitchen Disco Friday.
Kitchen Disco Friday is a good thing. Dancing has been music. That's a nice one, actually. We've been having some songs on in the morning, actually. So boys have been getting up a little bit earlier for school. And so I've sort of thought about songs that are actually going to start the day in the right way. And one of our favourites, actually, the classic at the moment in Mears house, is a song from Britain's Got Talent, which I couldn't believe it, but Gilbert said it's called Monday Morning Love You, and it is just lovely. It's really lovely. And Gilbert's like, you got to play it. I was like, this is going to be a disaster. Listen to it. It's great. And that's been a bit of a Mears anthem for the last couple of weeks.
So get your day kicked off really well in the morning with a happy tune is a good thing. And the kids don't mind if you play the same one every day. So that's good. So we're okay. We're sometimes up and down, but not drowning because we're deliberately putting in some of these things. So we hope that that's an encouragement to you guys as well out there, and hope that you all have a relaxing half term as much as you can. have some treats, enjoy yourself, look after yourselves, because you look after so many people. And if you get energized over half term, that's good for everyone. That will help your family, and that will help all the students as well when you come back. So, blessings to all of you for a lovely half term.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Laura, again for giving up your time to do it, and hopefully that's been useful, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care, everyone.